what's happening, everyone? It is I, the man, the myth, the mustache, Tim here, and I got a brand new video for you. Welcome to part 3 of What If Deku Had a Full Counter Quirk. Please sit back and relax because you are in for a treat. With that out of the way, let's get this story rolling, shall we? In an unsuspecting alleyway, in an unassuming part of the city, the free-roaming piece of the sludge villain was doing its best to free its body from its 2-liter prison. No matter how hard it tried, the booger-like creature didn't have the strength to open or break the bottles. Things seemed hopeless for the little snot, until it could hear voices approaching. "I'm pretty sure we lost him, Bakugo. Why don't we go to the arcade or something?" "The nerd couldn't have gotten that far. He's dead when I get my hands on him." "I don't get it. Do you hate him or not?" "What are you talking about?" "Do you hate Midoriya or not? I'm really confused. Yesterday, you acted like you wanted him to go with you to UA. Hey, you're right. Now you're mad that he applied. What's the deal?" "I don't have to explain myself to you extras." Bakugo's friends gave each other confused looks, while the explosive blonde angrily kicked a soda bottle. The plastic bottle slammed into a wall, breaking it open and spilling its strangely viscous fluids. Although he'd never say it out loud, Bakugo was impressed by how Midoriya danced around him. He wanted to figure out how to move like that, then beat the crap out of that green Wookiee for not showing him sooner. "I'm gonna become a greater hero than All Might, and like hell, I'll let that Padawan wannabe get the better of me." The blonde's anger fizzled when he saw his flunkies cowering before him. It wasn't completely out of the ordinary for them to be scared of him, but things seemed out of place when they ran away screaming. A wet and heavy substance fell onto Bakugo's shoulders. "You're strong. Your body will do nicely." Elsewhere in the city, the Midoriyas were walking around. "It must have been scary facing off against the Booger Bandit." "Booger Bandit? Really, Dad?" "What? It has alliteration, and it rolls off the tongue nicely." The fire breather's son chuckled at the pro hero's flawless yet bizarre logic. They were both still bathing in the afterglow of meeting their favorite hero face to face. "Yeah, I was definitely scared. I don't know what would have happened if All Might hadn't shown up, or if I were quirkless." Kiyo would rather not think about either scenario. He didn't like the idea of his son being defenseless. "You know, we could add some martial arts into your training, if you're up for it." "I was thinking the same thing! I remember watching you and Toya practice, and it always looked so cool!" Kiyo found Izuku's excited smile contagious. He ruffled the boy's curly green hair as he spoke. "I'll have to work on a lesson plan then. We can..." A string of Morse code cut the wholesome moment short. Kiyo pulled out his phone, intently listening and translating the signal. Izuku noticed how quickly his father's expression turned from cheerful to serious. "Hostage, not good. Fires, water quirks will be needed. Shopping district, lots of people but not too far. I should help with evac. Can I come with you?" Kiyo was pulled from his tangent. "It'll be dangerous." "I promise. I'll stay behind the police line. Please?" "Well, as long as you promise, you can watch your old man work. Just try to keep up." The older man ran ahead, using his years of parkour to avoid other pedestrians. "Hey, no fair." Izuku ran after his father. He quickly apologized to the people he ran into as he did his best to keep pace. People gave odd looks as the two continued their free running towards the rising smoke on the city skyline. The police kept the citizens behind their barrier while the available pro heroes went to work. Backdraft was busy quelling the fires. Kamui Woods jumped headlong into the flaming buildings to pull people out, despite his elemental weakness. Death Arm took to the front line and rushed at the villain with a battle cry. When his attack landed, his fist got stuck in the villain's slime-like form. Their enemy was fluid like water, but strong like steel. Death Arm clawed away at the strange mass, but found the efforts fruitless. The strong arm hero only escaped the villain's grasp when the sludge-like creature threw the pro hero aside, all the while keeping his hostage within his grasp. Death Arm called out, "Can anyone get this guy?" "Got my hands full here," Kamui Woods replied back. "Someone's gotta contain these fires," Backdraft said. Death Arm yelled out, "Damn it! We don't have the right quirks for this!" Kiyo and Izuku arrived on the scene, the young man staying behind while the pro hero approached Death Arm. "Any progress, DA?" "Oh, Kiyo, there are still people in the buildings, and the slime villain still has the hostage." Slime villain? It couldn't possibly be the same guy All Might was turning into the police. It's not like that snotty scoundrel could have escaped easily. Get the hell off me! Explosions came from the sludge villain. The blonde hostage was fuming with rage as blasts crackled and burst from his hands. Bakugo. Death Arm pointed. You know that kid? Yeah. Son's classmate. The Spitfire hero took in the rest of the scene, quickly mumbling his thoughts to himself. All right. Yep. I'll assist Conway with evac. You cover backdraft in case Snot Rocket tries something clever. What about the kid? Trust me, Bakugo's a tough kid. He never backs down from anything. Ever. Kiyo ran toward one of the burning buildings as worry stirred in his mind. He wasn't sure how long Bakugo could keep fighting while inside the sludge scoundrel. But Kiyo himself couldn't run in there, breath blazing without a plan. He could very easily blow up the kid if his fire came into contact with Bakugo's sweat. Izuku saw Kiyo rush into one of the buildings. He didn't need to worry about his dad, given his natural fire resistance, but he worried all the same. It didn't help that no one was able to get close to the villain or hostage. Izuku recognized the villain and feared for the poor soul. He dared to examine the scene further. The young man choked on shock when he saw the hostage. Pushing past the barricades and cops, Izuku ran straight for his friend. Kachan! Kiyo and Kamui had finished getting the civilians out when they saw the teen running headlong into danger. Death Arm called out to the kid while Kiyo turned pale from dread. The fire breather bolted after his son, but was restrained by Death Arm. Hold it, Spitfire! You're being reckless! That's my son! Your kid isn't the only one in danger out there. Fear still gripping his chest, Kiyo tried to look past his tunnel vision. He saw the citizens watching with intrigue and the hostages losing fight against his captive. Any of them could get hurt if caution was thrown to the wayside. He snarled like a dragon as he fought against Death Arm's grasp. I can save them both! I know I can! Izuku! But the boy kept running. He couldn't stop himself. His legs were moving on their own. Izuku was horrified, and he needed a plan. A page of his hero notebook flashed in his mind. He had an idea. Izuku threw his backpack at the sludge villain, using his quirk to make it fly faster. The bag slammed into the villain's eye as he cried out in pain. Bakugo gasped for air, partially freed from the slime villain's grasp. The first thing he saw was Midoriya scraping away at his slimy prison, tears building in his jade eyes. The hell are you doing here? I don't know. My legs were moving on their own. Kachan, I couldn't just watch you die. The sludgy creature tried attacking Midoriya. Like their last encounter, the young man was able to keep the monster at bay, but only just. The Snot Rocket had learned a few things since their last encounter. He wouldn't be pulling any punches this time. Within the crowd of onlookers was the weaker form of All Might. He had arrived some odd minutes ago after seeing the rising smoke. He had suspected that that was where his quarry had ended up, but didn't think things would have gotten so dire. Toshinori clenched his fists until his knuckles turned white. He was out of time in his buff form. Damn it! Why did he have to be so useless? Get out of there, Izuku! Kiyo turned his attention back to Death Arm. Let me go! Toshinori saw the pro-hero he met earlier that day fighting against Death Arm's grip. He also saw the young man fighting the slime villain. Despite everything, they were fighting. Seeing their heroic spirits bolstered his own resolve. Steam rose from the older man's form as he bulked up. You slimy brat! I'll kill you! The slimy scoundrel towered over the middle schooler, looking as imposing as he was dangerous. Adrenaline pulsed through the jade-eyed boy and his father. Kiyo threw his head back into Death Arm's face, injuring the strong-arm hero. The big man dropped the Spitfire, who sprinted forward for his kid. Kiyo didn't have a plan. He never did when he got like this. A powerful wind force zoomed past Kiyo, almost knocking him to the ground. All Might had gotten between Izuku and the sludge villain's attack. The number one hero grabbed both boys in one hand before hitting the villain with a mighty smash. A twister spun briefly as the sunny day turned stormy. The crowd cheered at All Might's feet as Kiyo fell to his knees in relief. The defeated remains of the sludge villain were collected and hauled off to jail. Bakugo and Izuku had been pulled aside to talk, the latter being scolded by Death Arm for reckless endangerment and illegal quirk use, while the former was being praised by Backdraft for his bravery. All Might was being hounded by the media as Kiyo watched from a distance. The number one hero's gaze eventually landed on the observing Spitfire. Kiyo bowed, a silent sign of gratitude and thanks, and All Might simply nodded. As the older Midoriya went to save his son from the scolding of a lifetime, he noticed All Might looked out of breath and had a slight sway in his stance. That was something to think about later. Some time had passed since that incident. Bakugo became famous overnight, much to his chagrin. Hisashi started Izuku's martial arts training. The young man was picking it up quickly, and it seemed to complement his quirk nicely. Toshinori had been debating with himself about his circumstances. He had to pass his quirk to someone with potential, which was one of the reasons he would be teaching at UA that year. He told himself he'd have to make a choice after seeing the sports festival. He'd also prefer picking a first-year student so they would have time to become accustomed to one for all. He thought of that reckless youth and his equally reckless father. Maybe that was worth investigating. Hisashi had returned from patrol with a couple of his sidekicks. They approached the front desk to check in when the receptionist said there's someone waiting to see Kiyo. I told them to wait in your office. I hope that's all right. Yeah, that's fine. Pyro King, Emberd, enjoy your break. I should be done by the time you two get back. Yes, sir, Emberd said. You got it, boss! Pyro King said. The Spitfire made his way to his office as his co-workers went to lunch. It wasn't out of the ordinary for people wanting to meet with Kiyo. The Crimson Torch was known for accepting odd jobs directly from the people, looking for lost pets or items and helping load or unload vehicles, among other menial yet helpful tasks were common requests. Kiyo believed this was something of that sort. He entered his office to find an elderly man with shaggy blonde hair. Kiyo had a gut feeling he had met this man before, but couldn't place where. Spitfire Kiyo, I assume? The man said. Guilty as charged. What can I do you for today, Mr. Toshinori? Toshinori Yagi. I'm here on the behalf of All Might. This stunned Kiyo. He removed his goggles and offered Yagi a seat before sitting behind his desk. Was your son planning on attending a hero school? Yeah, UA actually. I'm doing what I can to help him train, but I don't know if it'll be enough. I went to Shiketsu, so I don't know what UA's entrance exam is like. Well, my client was impressed by your son's initiative in the sludge villain incident the other day. All Might would like to help young Midoriya's chance of getting into UA by helping you train him. Kiyo was very glad he was sitting down for this conversation. Well, this is certainly unexpected. Wouldn't All Might be too busy with his own work for this? You know, with saving lives and interviews and all that? That has already been accounted for, actually. After seeing what young Midoriya is capable of, All Might and I will form a plan that will get the boy ready for the exam without overworking him. With your input, of course. When All Might himself can't be there, I will be there in his stead. This couldn't actually be happening. This was way too surreal. Kiyo began to mutter to himself about why this would work. It would certainly be beneficial for Izuku to become physically stronger, among other things. It's important to take in wisdom and learn skills from different sources, lest one becomes inflexible and unchanging. All Might had been a hero for many years, so he would certainly have much to teach. Are you alright, Kiyo? Toshinori inquired. Oh, sorry, I was thinking out loud. Just one thing I'd like to ask before I agree to anything. Why my son? Yagi's brow furrowed. One might think he was trying to recall something All Might had said to him. However, to Kiyo, it looked like the older man was trying to come up with the answer for himself. All Might saw your son run towards danger on instinct, without thinking. He wasn't concerned about stopping the villain. His focus was on saving his friend. That boy of yours was as heroic as any pro out there, perhaps more so since he took action. A hero's heart like that shouldn't go to waste. Kiyo studied Yagi intently, his coal-black eyes attempting to pierce through the blonde's words and soul. He noticed how the man before him began to twiddle his thumbs as a nervous sweat rolled down his sunken face. Yagi seemed honest, but Hizashi couldn't shake the feeling of seeing this man somewhere before. I don't think Izuku would complain about training with his favorite hero, and as long as I'm there, I don't see any issues. The two men shook hands after setting up a time and place to meet. Hizashi woke his son early on the arranged day, partially to Izuku's dismay. All that the younger Midoriya knew was that they were going to meet with someone on Dagobah Beach to start some serious training. After a quick breakfast, the father-son duo jogged to their destination. The morning was cool and quiet as the ocean waves lapped onto the sand. Mounds of illegally dumped trash decorated the beach. It was disheartening to see. The Midoriyas entered the miniature dump, the younger of the two curious and confused. I know we're a bit early, but you'd think you'd be here. Who are we meeting, Dad? You still haven't told me. Oh, sorry. Guess that slipped my mind. A hearty laugh resounded as a hulking man made himself known. Izuku couldn't hide his disbelief and amazement, while Hizashi had a smirk on his face. Aha! Good morning! Nice to see you again, young Midoriya, and Senior Midoriya! Good morning, Mighty. Shall we get started? Wait, Dad! Is All Might gonna help you train me? Yep, we're working on a regimen to get you ready for the UA entrance exam. While I'll be focusing on martial combat and breathing, All Might will be focusing on your physical strength and stamina. The training will be harder than anything I've put you through. So, Green Bean, what do you say? Izuku looked at the pro heroes standing before him. Tears welled in his eyes as he smiled. Yes, I'll try my best. Do or do not, young Midoriya. There is no try. Well put, Yoda Might. Let's get started. Training began with Izuku cleaning up the beach. This wasn't just an inherently heroic deed. It also helped improve the young man's muscular strength. He also utilized his quirk to launch scrap and trash of various sizes. This helped increase his durability and made him more accustomed to his quirk's kickback effects. Both of Izuku's mentors not only made a workout regimen, but also a meal plan to make sure Izuku's body was getting what it needed. This meant that Hizashi would have to take his cooking beyond the level of simply sustaining life and tasting decent. Weeks and months passed, and Izuku had gotten quite used to his training. All Might's portion improved Izuku's physical capabilities, moving the various sized pieces of trash off the beach to increase strength and a combination of swimming and running to increase endurance. Hizashi's portion was more technique-based. He started by teaching Izuku how to breathe. Proper breathing would improve stamina and power, as well as help the young man keep calm in high-stress situations. When Hizashi noticed how much his boy improved, he told All Might of an item Hizashi used during his own training. All Might liked the idea, and thought it wouldn't hurt for Izuku to give it a shot. You want me to wear this mask during strength training? Precisely! The high-altitude mask will make your heart and lungs work harder, training your body to use oxygen more efficiently. At least, that's how your father explained it. I wore one pretty much all the time when I was training at your age. I used it so I could use my fire breath for longer periods of time, but I think you could still use some benefits from it. Izuku was curious and intrigued. He secured the mask and started breathing deeply. It definitely felt more difficult, which was a bit scary. After getting accustomed to the mask, the young man started lifting and moving the trash off the beach. The work was more exhausting than the first day of training. Breathing had never felt so difficult before. Izuku took things slowly as he focused on proper breathing. Hizashi began teaching more of the techniques and footwork of dragon style. Keeping movements fluid while having your strikes explode with power was at the core of moving like a dragon. Izuku was picking up the footwork with ease, but he was having difficulty with putting speed behind his strikes. Even though you're still new to this, I thought you'd be moving faster. I know! I don't get it! Hizashi noticed Izuku's anger and helped him calm down. He knew his son would get it eventually, but completely understood his frustration. Working hard, I see. Toshinori walked onto the beach toward the father and son. The secretary was pleasant company when the symbol of peace was unavailable. Despite being quirkless, Yagi would sometimes give phenomenal pointers. You're late, Skeletor. Paperwork got in the way. You know how it is. Can I make a suggestion, young Midoriya? What do you have in mind? You're too tense. This confused the young Midoriya, but the senior Midoriya understood right away. Hizashi felt kind of stupid for overlooking something so obvious. Toshinori instructed Izuku to loosen his shoulders and hips along with unclenching his fists. Izuku did so. His hands flexed into the dragon claw form he had seen his father do many times. He practiced his strikes again, and noticed he could move much faster. Oh wow! Thank you, Mr. Yagi. Anytime, young man. Toshinori smiled as the father and son continued their spar. Hizashi watched the older man from the corner of his eye. He still had this nagging feeling he had met Yagi before all this, not to mention how similar the secretary was to All Might. Same vernacular, same morals, similar appearances. Hizashi was suddenly hit by an epiphany, followed by Izuku's fist. The Spitfire tumbled face first into the beach. Neither Izuku nor Toshinori expected Hizashi to take the hit. Oh my gosh! Are you okay, Dad? I don't like sand. It's coarse, and rough, and irritating, and gets everywhere. Well, you're quoting Star Wars, so you mustn't be too hurt. Hizashi picked himself up, sand sticking to his face and stuck in his hair. Blood dripped into the Spitfire's left eye. The small wound on his brow bled excessively, which scared Izuku. Yagi pulled out a handkerchief and began dabbing the blood away. Hizashi thanked the blonde, studying him and wondering. The thought bounced around in Hizashi's mind for a handful of days. It was only when one of their training sessions ended late did an opportunity present itself. All Might was heading out before Hizashi made his move. Green Bean, you go on ahead. I'll catch up. You sure, Dad? Yeah. I've got a few things I wanted to go over with All Might real quick. Hizashi ran after the symbol of peace into a dim back street. All Might was in the middle of a coughing fit when the Spitfire showed up. Steam seemed to be dancing off the man's muscles. You all right, Mighty? Oh, Hizashi! I didn't hear you follow me. All Might looked like he was having a hard time keeping himself together. Hizashi scoped the area quickly, making sure they were alone. You can drop your guard, Toshinori. Your secret's safe with me, whatever it is. Beads of sweat rolled down All Might's face. He had known Hizashi for about 8 months at this point. He trusted him, but could he trust him that much? All Might's body betrayed him as he fell out of his muscle form, hacking up a mouthful of blood. Hizashi was taken aback by this sudden turn of events. The Spitfire took the old man by the arm, supporting him. Well, this isn't good. Do you need help or... No, it'll pass. Look, I need to go, but I promise I'll explain this in due time. Hizashi was beyond baffled. His theory was right. He didn't like being right. He wanted to ask a million questions, but he saw how tired Toshinori looked. Hizashi sighed in defeat, keeping his questions to himself. All right. Why don't you come over to my place after Izuku heads out to school? That sounds like a plan to me. Thank you. And that's our video for the day, so thank you all for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed it. Before we go, there's a little bit of housekeeping I want to do. First off, We the Celestials has many other channels for your entertainment and viewing pleasures, so please feel free to check out those in the comment section below. Second, on behalf of We the Celestials, I want to thank everyone who worked on today's production. Their details are also in the description. So, thank you all for watching, I hope you have an amazing day. And as always, be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, and stay awesome! This has been Tim, Mustache out!